Dear all, best wishes to you all for the International Labor Day. On this day, it is important that we all get to know about our employee rights, employee issues, and the importance of employee unity. But before we go there, I want to bring 2 points to your notice uh, to keep everything in perspective. One, as per the latest Oxfam report, 73% of the wealth generated in a year well to 1% of the population. That's Oxfam's report on wealth generation in India. 73% of wealth generated went to 1% of the population. So, all the employees who generate the wealth, 73% of that wealth went to just 1% of the people. Second point that I want to put in perspective is that what the management schools teach to the CEO. The job of CEO is not welfare of its customers. It's not to look after the welfare of its employees. A single line description of the job of a CEO is to maximize the returns for its shareholders. So, if you take these 2 points in perspective, you'll understand wealth generated is transferred to a very small percentage of shareholders, percentage of people who are the shareholders, who are the owners, and the CEO is the one who facilitates this transfer of huge wealth generated by a large number of employees to a very small number of shareholders. Remember, so keep these two things in perspective when we discuss the issues that face IT employees, and you'll realize you'll be able to see the whole picture. So, what is Labor Day? Labor Day is on this 1st May. Lakhs of Americans workers on the same day did a strike, and the purpose of the strike was fixing work hours. They wanted a fair work hours and common across all the industries. A law was made and 8 hours workday was fixed. The reason they demanded this law was employees have a life. Apart from the, if they work, and if they are not able to give time for their families, for their other life interests, they are not workers, they are just slaves, because you are just doing work. In those days, employers made employees work 12 hours, 15 hours a day. There was no personal time left for personal life. Now, bring that into perspective as of today. Today, the corporate media, the employees, everybody have put in our brainwashed our minds to believe that 24/7 24/7 work hours. We are expected to work long hours. 8-hour work day is gone, and at least on weekdays you are fully engaged in corporate work, and even most of your weekends go in corporate work. There is hardly any time left for your other purpose. This is not work, this is not labor, this is slavery. If you have no time for your personal life, this is not labor, this is slavery. And these are huge repercussions. When you don't give your time to your personal life, your health suffers, your family suffers, your kids suffer, you don't give your time for your personal interest, be it music, be it art, be it whatever else you want to do, your hobbies, then those aspects of the society suffer. The society suffer, and consequently there is an imbalance that happens in the society. That imbalance is just, and the reason for the imbalance is just for the CEO to be able to give that extra percentage profits to the 1% shareholders or the corporate people. So to have that additional 70% transfer of wealth to that 1%, the CEO makes life difficult for so many employees. This is not right. The law doesn't allow this. The labor revolution fought to ensure that it's 8 hours work, and it's 8 hours work not only for the ground level employees, the low level employees, it is also for the officers, the senior level employees, the account managers, the project managers, the region managers, area managers, everybody. Nobody should be made to work more than 8 hours. What will happen if this is strictly enforced? Corporates will have to put in additional people to cover for that loss of hours, in which case there will be additional senior positions created. They'll have to share their wealth with these additional people. The profits would get reduced by a small percentage point, but then the wealth generated, the 70% wealth generated transfer, which is 70% of which is transferred to 1%, that ratio, that imbalance would have some balance, and people, as a consequently, people will have to have less work, to do spend less hours, and have a better balance in their life. Another very important aspect to this longer work hours is the impact of it on women in senior positions, because senior positions demand a 24/7 work conditions, 24/7 commitment. Female employees who have responsibility of kids and families are not able to cope with it, and hence we see that the numbers of females in senior positions are less. They have to drop it because there are huge pressures, but nobody questions why are there pressures. You can be in a senior role because of seniority, of your experience, of your knowledge, not because you are ready to compromise your personal life, you are ready to put in more hours there. If there is one region head, if he has to work for 18 hours, then the company has to put two region heads working for 9 hours. They cannot make one person compromise and set a standard that if you want to climb the ladder you have to spend more times. No, that is setting a wrong precedent in the society, and which is not correct, which basically prevents the women workforce from entering to senior positions. So 8 hours work day for juniors plus seniors is what is important, what is will set a balance, and what is the right of every working person. And labor revolution has fought for it has got it, it is there in the law, but the companies flaunt the law, they break the law shamelessly, and the corporate media doesn't question, nobody questions these corporates. So wake up to your rights on this. You need to have balance in your life. Another thing we want to touch upon is job security. Remember, once you are made a permanent employee of your company, your job has to be secure. Company, as per the law, company cannot remove you from your position, from your job, unless you have done something illegal, some disciplinary indiscipline or misconduct, or the company is facing so much loss that the company's existence itself is in danger, and they have to cut the employees. So only in these two scenarios, misconduct or a severe loss for the company, that the company can remove an employee. Other than these two reasons, company cannot remove a permanent employee, because and the reason for this law is employees spend years building skills to work in this company. They make their lives dependent on this company. They take liabilities based on the job of this company, and all these liabilities and these skills that are gained, company just cannot throw them one day on the street just because the CEO wants to have an additional 1% 2% increase in growth. He cannot just throw. It cannot be a use and throw. Hire and fire is use and throw. Like a substance, you are not a substance, you are lives. There are families dependent, and profit cannot be at the cost of lives. So that's why this law was made. Corporates cannot fire if they are in profit. So as long as your company is in profit, Just think, as long as your company is in profit and as long as you are not doing any misconduct, your job is secure as per the law. And if that security is guaranteed to you, just think of the peace of mind that you are going to get. That peace of mind will help you settle in your life, help you take decisions, and would remove undue pressure on you. But the corporates want to fire, and in many cases the firing is, one department is firing, other department is hiring. There is firing is just for a few months, like they fire in December, hire back in January. It's no sense, no sense. Just the CEO wants to have an increasing profit. If he cannot get the profit from the market, he tries to cut some employee strength for a few months, shows the profit for that particular year, and then hires back again. This kind of dirty business is playing with the lives of people. It should not happen. Transfer of 70% wealth to 1% cannot be at the cost of people's lives, making people suffer. It cannot happen. And hence the law is that they cannot be fired. Make sure you are not forcing, and that's why the companies don't themselves ask you to leave. They ask you to resign. They don't remove, because they know they cannot remove you, so they force you to resign. They use all this pressure tactics, which is all illegal, and illegal and brazenly wrong, immoral, but they do it. But remember, you are educated, you are powerful, you are learned, and you have to fight it. The same companies who have these practices, their corporates come out into big meetings and talk about social responsibility and charity and all this nonsense, all those things, when they themselves are doing inhuman practices in their companies. So open up, speak up. You cannot be forced to resign. Job security is your right. Further to this, companies in Western world, if they still have, they found a middle path to it. If they have to fire few employees, they give a very good breakup package, relieving package to the employees. In US, in certain companies, yeah, the practice is for the package is equal to, for every year of service, that many months of, the number of years of service into number of months, is that many months of package is given as a severance package. So if you work for 5 years, so you get 5 months of package, if severance package. In some companies it is 1 point into 1.5, so it will 7.5. In some good companies it is into 2, so you get 10 months of package, so you have enough time to find, reskill and find new job. In India, they never discuss this kind of packages, severance packages. They are not part of employee agreement, and hence it is important that employees from their association have their unity to demand that such severance clauses should be put into an employee agreement. Such severance packages are required. You spend, the more the number of years you spend in a company, the more you are dependent on the company, and hence the severance package has to be higher. It's simple. We bought hire and you bring hire and fire policy from the Western world, you should also bring the severance package policy from the Western world. But there is nobody to demand this, and hence the need for employee unity and employee associations, employee organizations to put pressure on the corporates to demand this. Also, if you look at the different facilities that are provided to IT employees, the facilities over years are now decreasing. The profits are increasing, the rate of profit is increasing, the amount of profit is increasing, but the facilities are decreasing. Uh, Maternity benefits, as per the law, if you have more than 40 women employees, you have to have a crash facility for kids on premises. But many companies don't promote this, don't let the employees know that they have a right for crash facility for kids on premises. They don't tell them it's a very small cost, a small room suffices with one or two employees to take care of the kids. But but the corporates want to save even on that, and they don't provide it, they don't promote it, they don't let the employees know of their rights. Some companies tie up with some local vendors which are not good, clean, and the employees end up not taking up those facilities. And the HR in its discussion or in its initiatives never talk about these crash facilities. They will never let the employees know. They will never. There is no company who says we have the best crash facility for women employees, and they don't promote this as a joining feature that come join us. We have the best crash facility. No company does that. So that's how, and that is your right. That is not something that they have to. There is an extra thing that they give. It's your right to have it, but they don't give it give it to you. Similarly, lots of other facilities have reduced over a period of time. Bus facilities, earlier there used to be Indica company provided cars, then they went into company provided bus, then they made it into reduced it into employee paid bus service. And in Pune, for example, employee paid bus service was also is done away with in more big companies. They in Injodi Industries, as the company associations came together and formed their own transport company and said that we will pool all our buses together and run a bus service. They pooled the buses together, so each company got rid of its responsibility as a company provided bus service. They asked employees to join the transport company bus service. The industry association managed transport company bus service, and that transport company bus services, the number of buses in that service was now reduced, and slowly the bus service itself got killed. This is how all the services, look at the sitting arrangements. Earlier there used to be good cubicles. Now the new trend is get away with cubicles, uh, keep a standard board, and the employees sit near to each other in a cramped places with hardly any space to keep their bags. The individual cubicles are gone. The dignity of labor is going. You are being turned into a factory worker, and with less dignity. You are engineers, but you have been your dignity is getting reduced. Your workplace conditions are getting reduced. You are being cramped into small cubicles, small workplaces. Your canteen facilities, earlier companies used to provide free food, then it became employee paid food, and now they have, instead of company providing food, company is leasing out the canteen facilities and earning rent to commercial food providers and earning big rent out of it. So providing food to employees was their expenditure on the companies, so they have turned that into an income for companies. As a result, these commercial food providers provide commercial food. Most of the employees stay away from their families, are bachelors. They have to eat this unhealthy food. Why can't the companies themselves run a good canteen, a central kitchen with the, I mean, you invest 1 or 2 crore, you can have your big machineries, you have thousands of your employees, and you can have a central kitchen providing good healthy food. But companies will not bother for this. In fact, they have turned food providing into a business, a food by renting out the space and earning income. Further, similarly, companies don't make you aware of the the laws and rights that you have. As per labor laws, com- companies have to put up some information on some notice board about the labor law, the contacts about who is the labor contact, labor commission number, and all those things. Now, this law is a old law, so they did not mention any digital promotion of these details. So they just mentioned that put up in notice board because this is pre-internet law. But why can't the companies have a mailer with the PDF with all the contacts of all the details of the rights of the labor and the contact details of labor commissioners, the grievance cells, and all those things? They will never. They have to, as per a legal binding, but they will never do that. They don't do that. So we need an association to fight and demand these laws. In fact, there should be a compulsory induction training where employees have to undergo training undergo training on labor laws and pass this training before they get onboarded into a company. Similarly, there should be a training on women sexual harassment laws. As per the law, there has to be a committee where women can complain. A Vishaka committee, women can complain in case of sexual harassment. Women should know uh, what is the contact details of that committee, who is there, how do they access it. All those things, all this information is never promoted. Why can't they send a quarterly email with all those details to all the employees? Also, there should be a training on what constitutes sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is not an explicit harassment, but there are many other ways of minor sexual harassments which women are not even aware, or even men are not aware that this can constitute as a sexual harassment, and they can unknowingly fall into a sexual harassment case. So a training on sexual harassment for men and women both are important. Why cannot there be a compulsory training for every employee in the company as part of induction process? Why can't there be a quarterly mail on employee rights and employee the sexual harassment committees and all those things, giving all the details to all the employees? But the corporates will never let you know of your rights. They'll never let you know, they will never promote it. You have to promote it, and that's why you need a platform, association which would fight with your corporate management to get your rights. So there are many such issues, there are many such points. Unless you are united, all corporate companies are united. They meet, they share their concerns, they have a lobbying group with the government, they have a lobbying group with the corporates will always they have a lobbying group with the media. The media is always take stands of the corporate. They'll never take stand of the employees. How many media articles you read about employee rights? Any media house, if it goes against corporate interest, the corporates come together all to boycott that media house, put pressure on that media house, and hence you will see all the media articles are always in favor of corporates. So so if the corporates are so united together and they create such huge lobbies, huge pressure groups, it is imperative that employees also get united, form an association, and create their own pressure groups. Individually, you cannot fight. The labor revolution has got a lot of rights and fought for long and bought a lot of rights. Even those are at danger. So it is important that you protect those rights. In fact, increase your rights. Remember, and for that you need to come together. Remember the Oxfam survey: 70% of the wealth generated by you, the employees, is transferred to 1%, and that is injustice. That is injustice. That is theft. Now, I'll give a few minutes to a new law under labor reform that is coming, being brought under current government, and that law is about permanent fixed term employment. They call it labor reform, but goes strictly against the labors, but it is in the benefit of corporate. What does fixed term employment means? There is no more going to be a permanent job. Your job, you will be hired only for a fixed term with all the benefits of permanent employee, but your term would be fixed. So you will be, in case of IT employees, you will be hired just for the term of the project for which you are hired. Once the project is over, you will be removed from your job, and if once the new project, some other project starts, you will be again hired. So in between two projects, whatever bench you used to get, that bench will no more exist. That bench, you will be out of job. So the corporates would get away with all the bench, and the bench salary that they have to pay, it will turn into profit. So, and you will lose the permanency of your job. Now moving from one project to other project, there is a bench period of few weeks. The, now with the new law, that bench period would, you lose your job for that period. You will be put removed from your job, and then a new contract would come, that would again be a fixed term for that particular term. So this is a new new thing that is being brought up, so that in if it is brought in, IT employees will have, IT companies will have no bench. You lose your project, you're out of your job. You get a project, you're back in job. That 1 month which the companies used to pay, now it's your risk. So the variations in work, right? So sometimes you have work, sometimes you don't have work, and then the companies used to take that risk. When there is no work for a few weeks, company would take the risk, company would bear the cost. Now you are going to bear the cost of that variation, or for the period for which there is no work. So what it means is, the profits, all the profits would go to the owners, and the risk of all the risk of business, the variation in business that brings the risk of bench, that is now thrown upon the employees. You take care of it, but when the profits come, we will take the maximum share. And that's where the Oxfam survey, 70% of wealth generated goes to 1%. It is through all these measures, the measures, all these things, that the issues that we fix, they all boiled down to one thing: transfer of wealth generated by majority to a very small minority. And the majority is not aware of how much wealth they are generating. They are generating huge amounts of wealth. Wipro's Azim Premji, you heard 25,000 crore, 30,000 crore charity. That's the yearly profits that they make, and the employees, and at the same time the company is firing employees. That is not ethical. That is not moral. You cannot fire employees when you're making such thousands and thousands of crores of profits, tens and thousands of crores of profits. You cannot be firing employees. And this is not even about the high profile IT employees. In most of the IT companies, you have a housekeeping staff. Most of the staff is contract staff. What about them? Why are they contract staff? As per the law, contract staff has to be only for temporary work, not permanent work. Housekeeping is a permanent work. Why don't these companies hire permanent staff, give them decent salary? Look at the work conditions, look at the salaries. They hire a agency to do this, because the agency does the illegal work of paying them below the minimum wage, and this corporate company get away with not paying a decent salary to the housekeeping staff, to the ones who clean your toilets, clean your desk, clean your floors. They too deserve a decent salary. Why can't the companies who are making tens and thousands crores of profits have housekeeping staff who are on their payrolls and who get decent salary? But they will not. Is this morality? Is this ethical? When you pay, you snatch away their rights of minimum wage, and then you take huge profits, and then you say you are doing charity, which is again a doubtful activity, whether it's a real charity or it's a tax benefit game. So we as employees, not the high profile educated IT employees, but everybody associated with the IT industry, has to fight. Even the bus driver, the cab driver, they are not paid on time. Their salaries, their compensation for driving, right, they are delayed for months and months. Doesn't the company have money to pay for them on time? but whoever can be exploited are exploited. Their salaries, their compensation is denied for months every time. So there are a lot of illegal practices against employees in IT companies, and this high morals image that is being created by the media is a farce. A lot of wrong things, and we need to all fight to bring a balance. We're not saying snatch away and make the companies fall. No, we need a balance. We need a balance. Few percentage growth in profit cannot be at the compromise of life, at the compromise of peace of mind, at the compromise of happiness and pressure and health of employees. It cannot come at the compromise of that. That is what we want to fight, and that's why we want to, on this Labor Day, let's all decide to come together and fight, get united and fight and demand our rights, demand a fair society, demand a fair rights, demand a fair distribution of wealth generated by our labor. So